The mysterious wheel marks on the soles of the Buddha's feet, a story of good deeds and the karmic law of cause and effect. Excerpt from the Sutra of the Wise and Foolish, Damamukanidana Sutra, Chapter 14, Defeating the Six Masters. Long ago in India, there was a king named Bimbisara who deeply revered the Buddha. One day, he knelt before the Buddha and said sincerely, "World-honored one, I have heard that you possess 32 inconceivable and magnificent marks and beauties. I have seen most of them, but I have never seen the thousand-spoked wheel mark on the soles of your feet. Could you please show it to everyone?" The Buddha smiled and nodded, slowly extending his feet. When everyone looked, they gasped in amazement. The marks on the Buddha's soles were as clear as a painting, like a perfect, flawless Dharma wheel that emanates serene radiance, endlessly captivating to behold. King Bimbisara asked again, "World-honored one, what good deeds did you perform to obtain such an extraordinary mark?" The Buddha replied, "This is the result of not only practicing the 10 virtues myself in past lives, not killing, not stealing, not committing sexual misconduct, not lying, not speaking divisively, not speaking harshly, not engaging in idle chatter, not being greedy, not harboring hatred, not being ignorant, but also teaching others to practice good deeds together." The king was curious. "Could you tell us the story from that time?" So the Buddha began to narrate 2 events that occurred countless eons ago. Story 1. King Huiguang and the Teaching of the 10 Virtues. Long, long ago, there was a great king named Shitunimi who ruled over 84,000 smaller kingdoms, but had never had a son. He and Queen Shulipaluaman prayed day and night until she finally became pregnant. After becoming pregnant, the queen became especially compassionate and wise, often encouraging people to do good. When the child was born, he had an extraordinary appearance, with light emanating from every pore of his body. The king asked a physiognomist to read his features, who exclaimed in amazement, "This child will transform the world through his virtue." So he was named Huiguang, meaning wisdom and light. After Huiguang grew up, his father, the king, passed away. The ministers asked him to ascend the throne, but he said, "Unless all the people of the nation are willing to observe the 10 virtues, I will not become king." The ministers agreed, so Huiguang ascended the throne and ordered the promotion of the 10 virtues throughout the nation. The people reformed themselves and turned toward goodness, and society became harmonious and peaceful. But the demon king became jealous and falsely transmitted imperial edicts, encouraging everyone to do evil. The people were confused, so Huiguang personally toured the various kingdoms to set the record straight. Along the way, the demon king transformed himself into a person crying out in fierce flames, "Because I advised people to do good, I am now suffering." Huiguang asked, "Have those you advised received blessings?" The person said, "They have all received blessings, only I suffer." Huiguang immediately said, "As long as others receive blessings, I am willing to suffer without regret." When the demon king heard this, he had no more schemes and had to disappear. Huiguang continued to teach and transform the people. His virtue moved heaven and earth, and even auspicious signs like the golden wheel treasure and the 7 treasures appeared. He became a wheel-turning sage king, governing the world with virtuous law. The Buddha said, "King Shitunimi at that time was my father, King Shuddhadana, in this life. The queen was my mother, Queen Maya, and that King Huiguang was me. Because in that life, I practiced the 10 virtues myself and also taught others to do good. Today, I possess the 1,000-spoked wheel mark on the soles of my feet." Story 2. The Transformation of the Ugly Prince, Duolohashi. Another story occurred in an even earlier era. There was a king Moheshechuli, who also had no heir. The Emperor of Heaven transformed into a doctor and gave medicine to the queens. The chief queen initially didn't believe and refused to take it, so the other consorts became pregnant first and gave birth to 500 handsome princes. Later, the chief queen regretted this, quickly took the medicine, and also gave birth to a son. But this child was extremely ugly, like a piece of wood, and was named Duolohashi, meaning wooden person. His parents didn't like him and wouldn't arrange a marriage for him. Later, enemy nations invaded, and the 500 princes were defeated and fled home. Duolohashi stepped forward, took up his ancestors' divine bow and conch shell, and with one blast of the conch that sounded like thunder, the enemy army fled in terror. Only then did the king take notice of him. The king wanted to arrange a marriage for him, but feared the bride would be frightened away, so he instructed him to only meet his wife at night. Sure enough, the bride secretly looked at her husband during the day, was terrified, and fled back to her parents' home that very night. Duolohashi pursued her, and it just so happened that kings from 6 nations also came to forcibly marry this beautiful woman. The king offered a reward. Whoever could repel the enemies would be given his daughter's hand in marriage. Duolohashi went to battle again. With one blast of the conch and one shot of his bow that shook the heavens, the 6 kings were terrified out of their wits and were beheaded by him. He thus married the beauty and ruled over 7 kingdoms. But after returning home, his wife still found him ugly. He was heartbroken and ran to the forest wanting to commit suicide. The Emperor of Heaven appeared and gave him a precious jewel. When he wore it on his head, he immediately became incredibly handsome. When his wife saw him, she didn't dare recognize him. Only when he removed the jewel and revealed his original appearance did she believe he was her husband. From then on, the couple lived in loving harmony, and he was no longer called Wooden Person, but renamed Shutuoloshan. Later, 4 dragon kings helped him build a treasure city, 400 miles, using 4 kinds of precious springs. The palaces and towers were all made of lapis lazuli, gold, silver, and crystal, like a heavenly palace. He became a wheel-turning sage king, teaching the people to do good. The Buddha said, "That ugly prince at the time was me. His wife was my wife Yashodhara in this life. The father-in-law was Mahakashyapa." Those 6 kings who came to compete for marriage were the current 6 heterodox masters. Because they fought with me over beauty in the past, in this life they again competed with me out of jealousy over my reputation, wanting to compete in supernatural powers, but suffered crushing defeat and dragged themselves in despair. Why was he so ugly? King Bimbisara asked again. What did Duolohashi do in his previous life to be born so ugly? The Buddha said, in an even earlier time, there was an oil seller. A Pratyeka Buddha, a self-enlightened sage, came to beg for oil to treat illness. The oil vendor scolded him. "Your head is like a wooden stump. Your hands and feet like wooden axles. You don't work, you just take things for free." But he still gave him oil dregs. When the oil vendor's wife returned home and saw the Pratyeka Buddha, she was very respectful, immediately filling the bowl with good oil, and scolded her husband. "How could you speak to a sage like that?" The couple later repented and supplied oil on a daily basis. The Pratyeka Buddha, moved by their good hearts, displayed supernatural powers by flying in the sky and producing water and fire. The oil vendor and his wife were greatly amazed and vowed to be husband and wife for life after life. But the wife said, "You insulted him by calling him a wooden stump. In the future, you'll definitely be ugly, so I won't stay with you." The husband insisted, "Even if you run, I'll chase you." The Buddha concluded, because that oil vendor insulted the sage as like a wooden stump, Duolohashi was born extremely ugly. But because he later sincerely repented and offered good oil, he gained a handsome appearance and great supernatural powers. This demonstrates that good and evil karmic retributions are absolutely precise. Heartfelt reflections, the power of kind thoughts and speech. Every word you speak is sculpting your future self. After reading these 2 stories that span across time and space, my heart fills with deep warmth and hope. It turns out that every small choice we make, a word, a thought, and act of helping, is not insignificant. They are like seeds, quietly buried in the soil of Tathagatagarbha, and someday they will bloom into flowers beyond your imagination. Your kindness today is tomorrow's light in the world. King Huiguang would rather not be king than have his people learn goodness first. This isn't naivety, but true courage. In this era that often encourages winner takes all and fast, ruthless, precise approaches, we need this kind of persistence of "I'd rather be slow than compromise my conscience." You might feel you're just an ordinary person who can't do great things, but please believe, a gentle word of comfort, an honest choice, a decision not to follow the crowd, these are all the beginning of changing the world. Your words are a mirror of your thoughts. That oil seller's casual remark, "head like a wooden stump," caused him to bear the retribution of ugliness for many lifetimes. This sounds like a fable, but it's the naked truth. Every word we speak daily is not just sound, but energy. When we curse others, we hurt them but also wear down our own hearts. When we encourage others, we illuminate them while nourishing our own mind. So from today on, try to speak more gently to yourself and others. Even when the world is sometimes cold, you can be the one who offers warm tea. Even when you hit rock bottom, don't give up on yourself. Dulo Hoshi was despised by his biological parents, abandoned by his wife, and stood in the forest wanting to end his life. In that moment, he must have felt life was completely hopeless. But just when he was most desperate, the Emperor of Heaven appeared and gave him a precious jewel. How much this resembles our lives. When you feel, "No one understands me, I'm such a failure, everything is over," please hold on a little longer. The turning point often hides in the next second when you're willing to try once more. Your precious jewel might be a friend's caring word, inspiration from a book, clarity after a deep breath, as long as you're still willing to believe in beauty. Your Buddha nature has never abandoned you. Repentance is not weakness, but the courage to be reborn. The oil vendor couple made mistakes, but they didn't evade them. They immediately made amends and sincerely repented. This tells us no one is perfect, but everyone has the right to correct themselves. Past mistakes shouldn't become shackles, but should become motivation for you to become better. Don't let yesterday's you hijack today's you. You can always start writing a new story from this moment. True beauty comes from inner light. The thousand-spoked wheel mark on the soles of the Buddha's feet wasn't achieved through skincare, cosmetic procedures, or filters, but through compassion and wisdom accumulated over countless lifetimes. This reminds us, instead of spending time beautifying our appearance, we should spend effort cultivating our hearts. When you have love in your heart, light in your eyes, and warmth in your words and actions, your temperament will naturally shine. That kind of light no one can hide. Dear you, perhaps you're going through a low period. Perhaps you feel you're not good enough, not successful enough, not loved enough. But please remember, every bit of kindness you sow in your true mind, Tathagatagarbha, will eventually return to you in ways you see or don't see.